Today we look at cows' feet which have been previously trimmed and may or may not have gotten worse. I make an error and we talk about that sheep. This is the Hoof GP.
And I won't let it rush when I see you dance, and the moment comes when I fall and time goes slow. I fall into you.
So it's been a really late autumn here. The leaves are only just beginning to fall off the trees, but it is a pretty stunning sight. I love all the oranges and yellows and reds of the leaves as they actually begin to turn and fall. We're on our way to a farm that's about 10 miles from our house this morning. We started going there about a year ago and have continued to go every 4 weeks. So they still do have a few problems, but things are getting better and better all the time. They always hoof trimmed, it's just now we've taken over the reins. Although I've lived in this part of the world for years and years now, it never gets old driving through the Scottish countryside. It is simply
All
stunning.
of the things that I wish I could tell you, every time when you're passing me by, I fall in love.
I forgot about the fuel.
I told you about the fuel the other day.
100% forgot. We were like on fumes, literally running on fumes, and we're still running on fumes. Actually, it coughed. There are two thought schools on this, isn't there? Some people have got 0 miles left and they're like, it's fine, we've got loads of space to go. And some people have got 200 miles left in the tank and they're like, better fill up. I'm the first one, but this is really taking the biscuit. This is 100% your fault.
This is 100% your fault.
I'm gonna have to beg, steal and borrow from the farmer to see if he'll give us some fuel.
So many times I wanted to put my arms around you just to be close to you. And in my head, it's just you and I don't know why I feel this way.
It's funny, the second you start doing any work whatsoever, the clothes start coming off. Although don't worry too much, I'm only taking the top layer off for your benefit as much as mine. So in a lot of farms we already have the setup in place, and this one's no different, but the race is really short, which means we can only load one cow at a time. So in cases like this, I'm probably out of breath. In cases like this, we set up our own partial race. It allows the cows to be more fluid and to keep moving forward. Cows love following each other, so if they're in a race like this, it's much easier for us and the cows. Although the race does take a little bit of building. Even although it does take a bit of setting up, it truly is worth it. Right, on with the show.
I wanna close my eyes and go back, play it in my mind. A movie of us two, yeah, we were happy at the time. Can't remember what it felt like. We used to be so strong. That picture perfect sky now, it looks so gray and cold. We've been laying here since 4 a.m. and you haven't said a word to me.
This is exactly how we work, day in, day out, cow in, cow out. It's taken me years to get to this stage of my business, where everything works as smoothly as it does. The cows we're trimming today are pretty much problem-free, which makes trimming them an absolute dream. But regardless of how good the cow's feet are, it's always head down and get on with the job, so that these cows can get back to their beds as soon as they possibly can.
Now that is what you call getting through some cows, and if we'd sped that footage up, it would have looked even faster. No wonder we get tired after a long day at work. Anyway, we are getting through these cows really quick, so we don't have many problems to deal with. And the next cow is no different to the rest of the bunch that we've already trimmed. I don't think she's got anything really wrong with her, but I thought it would be good to show you an example of the cows we're trimming today. And no, I'm not going to clean it. I wish they were all clean as well, I truly do, but I'm not going to waste the cow's time, my time, the farmer's time, and risk being electrocuted just for some better footage on YouTube. But that sounds like I don't care. I do care. I really care that we get good footage, but I care much more about the length of time the cow is in the crush.
Those in the know, the ones in the business, the professional hoof trimmers, refer to this kind of trim as a maintenance trim. All we're doing is manufacturing wear and making sure that both of the cow's claws are balanced towards each other. In other words, that they're sharing the amount of weight that they're having to bear. Having said that though, there is definitely something worth talking when it comes to this cow's feet. Why are they all different colours?
Right, a quick lesson in coloration. This is white hoof horn and it is perfectly natural. This is bruised hoof horn. That's not natural. It's hemorrhaging. She's actually bleeding inside her foot because there's too much weight on her foot. That is bruising. This, however, is not bruising. Notice how it's kind of blacky, purpley kind of colour? It's just pigmentation, just like the rest of her body. Cows have pigmentation on their feet. The black hoof horn and the white hoof horn have no difference whatsoever apart from the colour.
The aim of these knife strokes here, believe it or not, is not to remove the bruising, it's to remove what is causing the bruising. By balancing these claws and modelling this area out, this bruising will not materialise into anything significant.
These are called fissures, not like fishermen. Fissures, little cuts, little slots in the back of the heels where debris and manure build up and cause digital dermatitis. So it's really important to get rid of all of these little flaps of extra hoof horn. Now I was hoping that this trim alone would get rid of this bruising, but I really don't think it will. You see, if we look from the side here, you'll see that even though I've trimmed a substantial amount from this outer claw, both claws are still the same height, so the weight will still be on that outer claw. Meaning, hopefully you said it before I said it, she needs a block.
Although I want that inner claw to be higher than the outer one, I still need to grind it down slightly to make sure the area is completely flat.
Typical. Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. Obviously she's going to start kicking as I try to carefully place the block, isn't she? Yes, it's not dramatic, but it is crucial. It's dramatic for her. If she's got bruising just because she's standing on that foot, imagine how sore that must be. Imagine if the soles of your feet were bruised just from walking. This block is going to give her a huge amount of comfort. So for her, it's a really big deal.
Coffee.
The sheep game, that brings us neatly on to what I was up to at the weekend. Did you see it? Because tens of millions of people around the world watched my weekend activity. But let the cow go first. So when I set out on my journey at the weekend, I did not think what I was about to do would hit headlines right across the world. But that's exactly what it did.
Loneliest in Britain has been rescued.
Britain's most famous sheep.
This is where she was stuck. For the sheep dubbed Britain's loneliest.
It involved rescuing Fiona from a remote shore in the Scottish Highlands.
Fiona was once known as the world's loneliest sheep, but not anymore.
Incredible. Who knew that story would capture the heart of tens of millions of people right around the world? Certainly not me. This farmer had a sheep stuck at the bottom of 700 or 800 foot high cliffs. He tried the Coast Guard, he tried the SSPCA, he tried the animal rescue guys, he tried himself obviously. And then one day I got this message. It's from Cammy Wilson from the sheep game. Basically Cammy thought to himself, who do I know that would be up for the challenge of getting this sheep back up the cliff? And that's where I fall in. He asked me if I had a boat, and at first that seemed like the logical idea, but really, in the finish up, we decided to take one of my buggies. My brother, James Parker Sculpture, Al's cousin's a guy called Ali Williamson. We didn't really know what we were going to find, but we were pretty certain we'd get the job done. En route, we formulated a plan, bought hundreds of meters of rope, and just went at it basically. The sheep was incredibly well behaved. We thought it would be an immense task in itself, just catching her. Get down the cliffs itself was no mean feat. Managed to corner her in this cave, bundled her into basically a big hammock,
and started the long and hard slog back to the top of the cliff. We used the winch on the buggy, we reversed the buggy, we pulled, we pushed, we heaved, we did everything we could to get her up the hill, and eventually we did. She even had a bite of grass on the way up. We decided she would go to a place called Dulscone Farm Fun, and that's because we know the people at Dulscone Farm. She's integrated really well already. She's even had a clip, so she's looking far better than she did, and she's going to live out the rest of her days there. Anyway, that was dramatic, wasn't it?
One last thing. Thanks for inviting me to come help with the sheep, by the way.
Right, be honest. If I'd said, are you coming to rescue a sheep at the bottom of some 700 feet high cliffs in the very North Islands of Scotland, what would you have said?
Probably no.
So why would I ask you in the first place?
It's nice to be asked.
It is nice to be asked. Anyway, moving on. Wait a minute, I'll just do this in the voiceover because you'll hear me much better, won't you?
Yeah, the cow in the crush
Didn't appear to be lame on her way in, and her foot is in really good shape from first appearances. But first appearances can be deceptive.
Can't believe I just woke myself up there. Anyway, I didn't think this cow had a problem, but she actually does have a very slight problem on her inside claw, which is a bit unusual.
When cows stand still, the inside claw on the back feet takes most of the weight. So when they're standing for long periods of time, i.e. for much longer than they should, then this happens. Their feet literally begin to break and peel apart. It's called a sole fracture, and it can be hugely crippling for the cow. Problems like this one are exactly why maintenance trims are so crucial if the cow is to be kept as comfortable as she possibly can, and therefore as productive as she possibly can for the farmer. This problem would have materialised into a crippling ailment for the cow, meaning that she may end up with a long-term problem, which would be much harder to fix. At this stage in the evolution of the problem though, it is relatively easily fixed, if you know what to do.
So this is a sole fracture, and if you look how much I've taken away from here, that is a bit of an issue. When cows stand still, they tend to stand on their medial claws, and they actually start to break apart if they stand for too long, which is exactly what is happening here. So we need to get all of the weight off that just for a short amount of time, and it will heal up completely naturally and not get any worse. So because it's only a temporary problem, we're using a rubber block because it'll only last for about 10 days or so, and then the problem will be no more. And that's her, done, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But the cow behind us, as I said in my kind of strange voiceover, has got a block on, and I've no idea what is wrong with her yet. I know it's an obvious thing for me to say, but green glue really is working its magic. So before she came in, I didn't know if I had trimmed her, the farmer had trimmed her, when she was trimmed, if we put a block on her, what the problem was. I didn't know any of that, but we do have some equipment that helps us out massively. So as I type her number into this tablet, it'll tell us if we've trimmed her before, and it'll tell us when we trimmed her. And just like that, yep, it's popping up with the last date that we trimmed her. And if we go into this history button, by pressing this, we can see exactly what was wrong with her. So she had a, oh wait a minute, she had a problem on her back foot, but she also had a problem on her front left foot. And she had a block that had been in place for quite a while on that front left foot. Craig's actually trimming it right now, so let's see how that's doing.
On less serious problems like this, we use wooden blocks because they're designed to last for 6 to 8 weeks. So in this cow's case, it's done its job perfectly. We just need to make sure that the job is completed.
So you can tell from the tablet that the last time we trimmed her was 4 weeks ago, but that block had already been on for 8 weeks. So that's why it's no longer there. So it's vital that the farmer provides this cow back to us exactly as he has done to check whether or not this problem is healed and whether or not she needs a new block in that old block's position.
Craig has been trimming for almost 4 years now, but every day is a learning day, and unfortunately for Craig, today is no different. How do you feel like he's done with this trim?
So I would say it's pretty much healed, but it is pretty vulnerable where it is. So we're going to put another block on just to make sure that this doesn't revert back to the problem it once was. Right, well Craig does that, we'll work on this back right foot. So yes, I know earlier on I said I wasn't going to wash it just for the benefit of the camera, and this isn't for the benefit of you guys. I'm washing it off because it might be fixed. I might not have to touch it in any way whatsoever, and I want to be absolutely certain I do need to cut anything off before I do it. Sometimes when you wash them off and just give them a little wipe, it's incredible. The foot actually looks like it's been trimmed, when in reality it has. We just forgot to press record on the camera. But you can see we've done a very good job.
Oh well, better luck next time. At least the trim was good.
Done. Let's see how Craig's foot ended up. I actually think there's a little bit more that can come away from that.
Craig is fantastically conscientious, and he's always very wary not to go too far, so I'd be completely happy if he'd left the trim as it was. For me, however, I think there's just that little bit more hoof horn that could be removed to ensure that it doesn't get bunged up with slurry, dirt and debris and cause an even greater problem. These small but significant additions to a trim can be the difference between a cow being completely healed and having to be trimmed again in a few months.
Beautiful.
And with this last cow's trim complete, that's us done for another day. It's time to wash everything up as well as we possibly can, pack on up and head on home. There's just that small matter of having no fuel.
We wouldn't have to be nicking this guy's diesel if you'd bloody remembered.
It's your fault.
This is 100% your fault. I said to you the other night.
I said to you the other